What's going on, everyone? So the Karl Anthony Towns trade really showed, and in my opinion, further proved that the Lakers were smart for being patient, right? Something that I've talked about is you look at all the asking prices on all of these players, right? You look at Jeremy Grant. They want 2 firsts for Jeremy Grant, 2 firsts for guys like Cam Johnson. And then you look at what Karl Anthony Towns just went for. He went for, yes, Julius Randle, who's an all-star level player, but he's a clunky fit. His market is bare, right? Karl Anthony Towns is the best player in that trade. This time, 2 years ago, imagine what Cat would have went for. I mean, look at what Rudy Gobert went for, right? But Karl Anthony Towns, because of his new contract kicking in, because of his new max, well, guess what? His market is incredibly thin, and you're having teams impacted and affected by the new CBA. It's also why I've talked about, right? Like Rob Pelinka's talked about the CBA, and a lot of people are like, he's just using excuses. No, I mean, again, you're seeing the effects. You're seeing the aftermath. You're seeing the casualties from guys. I mean, look at guys like Brandon Ingram, right? Like, this time 2 years ago, he would have already been traded. He would have already signed a new max extension with some other team. But teams are reluctant. Teams don't want to take on a bunch of bad salary. And these guys that are available are not on good contracts. They're not super healthy, right? Jeremy Grant is not this model of health. Jeremy Grant is not this guy that is on this excellent contract where it's like, man, you bring him in, Lakers are in good shape, right? You got some flexibility. No, it's nothing like that. And it's why I really do think the Karl Anthony Towns trade kind of helped the Lakers in the trade market, right? Because now you have something to point to and go, look, right? Like, you want 2 firsts for Jeremy Grant. Karl Anthony Towns went for a heavily protected first. I mean, it is top 13 protected, then it goes to top 11 protected, then it goes to top 9 protected, and then it converts to a second round pick. Right? Like, talking about an all-star, talking about an incredible who's still on the right side of 30, legit 25 and 10 guy in the right situation, right? He's had that for years. This is a guy that is the best player in this trade and went for essentially peanuts compared to what he would go in a normal circumstance. And so, to me, I do think that, A, yes, the Lakers need a trade. B, I do think that the Lakers need to continue to remain patient. And C, I do think that the Lakers need to kind of evaluate first, right? Take a step back, evaluate. I talked about this in a video and did this whole video breakdown, and then you got the press conference, and Rob Pelinka essentially reiterated everything I said in that video about how, you got this new coach, you got these players, let's see what it looks like, right? They talked about first 30 games, which brings you to a month out or so of the trade deadline to where you can start really kind of ramp it up. Now, look, Rob Pelinka has already said he's looking for trades. He even said, I'll trade a first for a marginal trade. It doesn't even have to be a superstar, right? I'll trade both first and I'll trade 1 first for a marginal move. But you need to evaluate and see, what do you really need? Yes, the Lakers could use a center, a bigger, bulkier center. But who is that? Is Valanciunas the right guy that you have to give up a trade? Maybe, right? Depends on what price he goes for. And on top of the price that he goes for, right, what else can you get? Because get Valanciunas and that's it. Lakers aren't, they're better, but they're not that much better, right? They go from whatever, let's say a 40% chance of winning to a 41% chance, right? It's not something where it really moves the needle heavily, if at all. It's just hey, this is an able body, big body, kind of slot alongside AD at times. But if you can get a Valanciunas, Cam Johnson, and a Jeremy Grant or something, well, now you're talking, right? Or, what if Christian Coloco is great for us? Right? He's not the big body center, but what if he is a 8-8 guy and give you a block and a half a game playing in a serious role? And it's do we really want, we just got Coloco, you can slot him alongside Anthony Davis, and now you got that defense, right? You got him to throw at, Jackson Hayes to throw at, Jokic is going to do his thing, but maybe we should focus more on the perimeter defense. Or again, the Lakers were atrocious defending the perimeter. What if you are terrible again? Right? And it's like, hey, and we're good at the center position. Like, we're doing good in the interior. We really need help on the exterior. We really need help out there. What if Rui Hachimura? What if he does become good defensively? I don't think he's going to be Jared Vanderbilt level ever. But what if he is? What if he's like as good defensively as Jeremy Grant would be? Right? Like, Jeremy Grant has questions defensively. He hasn't been the defensive guy he's been in previous years. So, like, what if Rui Hachimura is able to keep giving you 40% from three? He can give you, 15 points a game, and he can start defending well. Again, not great, not elite, but, like, good enough to where it's like, do we really want to trade a bunch of assets to go get Jeremy Grant? Do we really want to trade a bunch of stuff to go get Jeremy Grant when we could use our assets and use those things to maybe upgrade? Maybe you are getting like a Bruce Brown type. Maybe somebody that we're not even thinking of becomes available, right? You look at Karl Anthony Towns. That came out of left field, right? Like, there was talks that, like, eventually Karl Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, and Rudy Gobert, they were going to have to figure that out and make some tough decisions. But, like, we're, like, days away from media and training camp, right? Denver's already started their training camp. So you, like, look at this and it's like, no one's going to make a move right now. And then just out of left field, boom, something gets done. And it's like, wow, did not see that coming. Right? So there is always that, like, hey, what happens if that guy comes? What happens if we are able to get like a Walker Kessler? Because Walker Kessler, the Knicks were the only team really serious and actively trying to get Kessler. And look, Utah's like, hey, we want to get off of Kessler. We want to get off of Sexton, right? Give you these two guys for a first or something, a first and a pick swap or something like that, right? As opposed to, 2 firsts and 2 pick swaps. There is a real chance here that Karl Anthony Towns essentially set the market for all these other moves. I talked about it. No other trades really went down, right? Like, you had the Mikal Bridges trade, which that was an outlier, right? It's funny that 2 out of the 3 trades have been the Knicks, but the Mikal Bridges trade was the outlier, right? Like, so many people were worried, like, is that going to set the market? Like, I even said, like, no. Like, that's a Rudy trade. People thought Rudy Gobert was going to set the market, and it didn't. Everyone understood that was an anomaly. That was an outlier rather than the norm, right? But then you look at, like, what DeJounte Murray went for. He went for, like, half of what the original conversations were. Even with the Pelicans, right? Like, Pelicans were asking for more from the Pelicans, and he went for half of what he went for. And then now you have Karl Anthony Towns, who he just went for like a quarter of what he probably would have went for in a normal situation, if that, maybe even less, like a 10th, right? Like, so now you have 2 all-star caliber players, a guy in Karl Anthony Towns who's a star, who both just went for pennies on the dollar. And you want Jeremy Grant to go for 2 firsts? You want Jeremy Grant to go for 1 first? You're crazy. At this point, it should be at most a pick swap, right? Like, if I'm the Lakers, I'm going like, look at what DeJounte Murray for. Look what Karl Anthony Towns went for. I'm not giving you a first. I'll give you a pick swap, but that's about it. I'm not giving you anything. Like, it's a bad contract. Why do you think Karl Anthony Towns just went for peanuts? Because he's a bad contract, right? Compared to the standards, right? Teams aren't able to pay 3 guys maxes. Teams aren't able to give all these guys all these various contracts. And the Timberwolves have Rudy Gobert. They have Anthony Edwards. Karl Anthony Towns' contract was going to kick in. And it was like, we got to make a decision here. So you traded Cat. Because you're not going to be able to trade Rudy Gobert. Right? Like, who's lining up and going to give up anything for Rudy Gobert? You'd have to probably pay to give him away. Right? So the fact that you have now 2 trades that had real significant value prior to this CBA, now going for peanuts in this CBA, that it should impact the value of these teams. Now, that doesn't mean that these teams necessarily have to drop it or will drop it or, are willing to drop it right now. They could be patient. But it just gives the Lakers something to point to now outside of DeJounte Murray. Because when one thing happens, it's kind of like, well, like that was that, right? But then when another thing happens, it's like, okay, well, again, this is even bigger, right? DeJounte Murray, Karl Anthony Towns, and they just went for essentially the same price in comparison, right? Like, so, no, we're not selling the farm to go get Jeremy Grant, right? We're not selling the farm to go get a Walker Kessler. We're not selling the farm to go get, a Cam Johnson, right? These guys can't stay healthy. Well, not count Walker Kessler, but, Jeremy Grant, Cam Johnson can't stay healthy. Top of them not being able to stay healthy, right? Well, Cam Johnson not so much, but Jeremy Grant is on a bad contract and only gets worse as you progress, right? Like, it's just, if you're the Lakers, this helped you, right? Because it's like, no trades were going down. Nothing was happening. No one had anything to point to, right? Like, you had the DeJounte Murray trade. That was it. And then you had the Mikal Bridges trade. So it's kind of like, well, look at what Mikal Bridges went for. Yeah, well, DeJounte Murray. Yeah, but Mikal Bridges went for double the price. Well, now Karl Anthony Towns just went for a tenth of what he probably would have went for in any other scenario, right? So that should sink the tide a little bit here to kind of put the Lakers in better position. But we'll see. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think, yes, this should greatly help the Lakers as far as negotiations and stuff go? Do you think, it's not going to change anything? Is there anybody that you're like, I'd rather, stay away from these guys regardless? Just kind of be patient, wait and see. But again, I just think that this kind of validates Rob Pelinka staying patient, staying the course. Right? Trust that something will become available, that something will pop up. We'll see. Time will tell. But again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.